I'm reading to hear him jingling down the aisle.
Good laughing.
It's my pleasure to introduce our very Dr. Reverend Raymont.
Yeah, exactly. Ho, ho, ho! Happy Hanukkah! Because today officially it's Hanukkah, and even though that's what we talked about last week, but just how interesting it is that all three of these, Hanukkah, Christmas, and Kwanzaa, will have an overlap this year. So how's everybody doing?
Fabulous.
Hardly.
I think I heard like 4 people. What is it, the eggnog? Are we already in eggnog mode?
We're doing great, Raymont. Thanks for asking.
Don't look at us. How is everyone today?
Hopefully perfect.
Much better. That's more, I'm hot.
Yes, you are.
Oh! So,
I've said that before.
yes. Okay, so today we're talking about this amazing holiday called Christmas, right?
Yes.
Take my word for it. For those of you who are close enough to read this, however, let's be mindful that men in charge of the church have made Christmas about singling Jesus out as the one and only way to a relationship with God. And yet, what we in religious science have come to recognize in the metaphysical aspects of the story are that each of us is that same divine spark of the incarnating power and presence. That's what happens when you're typing stuff at midnight. And this year, we can let the Christmas story offer us a new way of looking at our own lives and the journey we are on to reconnect with the truth of ourselves. Right? So here we are, Christmas time. And if I ask you, typically, what are the top 3 things that come to your mind when people speak Christmas? What generally, not what you, the enlightened people, said the average. If we go outside right now and walk down to Dunkin' Donuts, or across the street, and ask the average person, when I say this next word, please tell me the first word that comes to your mind. Christmas. Like I'm talking.
Jesus.
Okay, I'm mad. Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. Presents. Christmas tree. Santa Claus. Anything else?
Food.
Okay. Family. Okay. Rudolph. Okay. So, what'd you say? Decorations. Travel. Charity. Okay, so you're going off the rails a little bit right there. Because I don't know if the average person, I appreciate that though, but I don't know, really, like if we think about it, I don't know if the average person really anchors into what the holiday means. I mean, once again, you ask the average person, like, what does holiday mean? The average person doesn't know that holiday actually derives from holy day. So when we are celebrating holidays, where some part of us is connecting to the idea that it's a holy day. If it's a holy day, from the solstice to Hanukkah to Christmas to Kwanzaa, it's a holy day, then is it just about a tree and presents? Is it just about ornaments and lights? Is it just about the external ways that we show this stuff? Or is it more about the symbolic ways that we ornate ourselves? Like if we think about, thank you, Lisa. If we think about how ornate we are as divine beings. So when we are decorating the tree and making the tree beautiful and bright and lively, isn't that sort of like an external way of demonstrating this is what we think about ourselves? When we are putting lights up, the light being, or the candles being the reminder that we are that light. That when we are giving presence, part of it is, one, being present to the presence that is showing up in, through, and as us. But it's also this idea of when I'm gifting, what am I gifting? What am I giving? What am I giving from? Am I giving from obligation? Because if you're giving from obligation, then you're not really giving. If you're giving because someone gave you and you need to match that gift, then it's not really giving. Like ultimately, giving is because it is who and what we are, simply to avail ourselves. So a couple of slides ago, we had a slide, and actually I'm going to, bear with me for a moment. Is that far back, huh? Because we're going to have to go through these again. There you go. So this was from the school counselor from the school that we recently adopted the family to assist them with satisfying the wish list for the kids. And the counselor sent and said, "Dear Holiday Elf, thank you for lighting up this holiday season for our most vulnerable families. I want you to know that I saw the relief in their eyes along with their smiles and tears of joy. You truly made a difference." If you were one of the people who volunteered to assist with getting the wish list accomplished, raise your hand. None of you had to do it, right? Queenie didn't walk up to you and say, "Dr. Ronnie, here, go get this."
Actually, I did.
Oh. And that's the sermon for the day. Okay?
Oh, you got to do that for you.
If voluntold, you were No, but seriously, like everyone had a choice. And you chose to be of service. Like, isn't that really what it means to be incarnating that which is God? Because what we know from the teaching symbol for religious science is the open V, being open at the top, meaning God, Spirit, Source, is ever evolving consciousness, ever shifting, ever growing, ever creating, ever serving itself, every way that it shows up. So when we are giving from that place, then we are acting more like God than we may realize. And keep in mind, Holmes said, the only God we are ever going to really know is the God that we embody. So when we embody this idea of what it means to give, with the same freedom that we give that breath, because we're not thinking about being stingy. We don't exhale saying, so listen here, listen to your nature, listen to your lungs. When I breathe, you better give me the same amount of breath that I just gave. I'm going to be keeping track. That was 4. You better give me 4 or better. Give me more. I'll take more if you want to give me more. Like, we don't do that when we breathe. We don't do that with other bodily functions because we simply let them be. What if we just let the light be? Like, what if we really got into this idea of, like, which Christmas is really Christmas? And when I say which Christmas, is it the Christmas that the world typically knows as Christmas? The gimme, 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 buy, buy, buy? The Christmas machine that has to be plugged in every year, somewhere around Halloween usually. Like, there's still jack-o'-lanterns and stuff and people are already buying. Like, wait a minute, we just got the candy and you already got Christmas trees up in the department store. What can we get through one holiday first? Like, which Christmas? Or is it the Christmas that our fellow spiritual folks, the Christians, celebrate? Is it that Christmas? Because interestingly enough, no shade, but I used to be one. And for many years of being one, I had no real idea what it meant to celebrate Christmas. I mean, I heard about the little boy, you know, the whole 3 wise men, manger, away in a manger, no crib for it. Yeah, I got that. Where's the gifts? Where's the eggnog and the gifts and the fruitcake? Like, I'm hungry. Like, but I remember the stories. So there are a lot of people who go through the motions. They'll say, yes, it's all about baby Jesus, and whether it's Will Ferrell or whoever, yes, it's all, you know, it's yes, baby Jesus, and yes, We three kings, and yes, shepherds, and yes, I wonder as I wander, yes. Mary, did you know? Yes. But how many are really embodying what that even means? For real, since most Bible historians will acknowledge that Jesus wasn't born on the 25th. Like, the reason it's there is because they wanted to blend and make it easier for the pagans to, so which Christmas is the Christmas that we are going to actually focus on? And the great thing is, you get to choose. Like, you get to choose what this means to you. So if I ask you, just plain and simply though, starting from, square one, scratch, what does that word mean to you? Like, what comes to your mind when you hear nativity?
The set.
The set. So this, the scene. So the angels and the three wise men, maybe a camel or two, Nestor, never mind, Mary and Joseph. Some of y'all don't know who I'm talking about. Some of y'all might. Anyhow. Anybody really know what I was talking about when I said Nestor?
Oh, yeah.
Wow, I'm impressed. So anyhow, so nativity, the set. Anything else?
The birth.
The birth of baby Jesus. Anything else?
Nestor. I
Pregnant woman couldn't find anywhere to stay.
You forgot the donkey.
That was Nestor.
Nestor.
So, real quick, now I'll get to that in a second. So, let's pause for a moment. So, nativity, the etymology of, I'm not going to read all that because I want us to focus on nativity, the noun, birth, origin, birth, born, native. As an adjective, natural, inborn, hereditary, connected with something in a natural way, native, born in, unspoiled, innate, produced by birth. How often when we see the nativity do we think about how at our birth, that which spirit is, birthed itself as us? How often do we think about our innate divinity, our innate magnificence and glory? See, it's easy to put it off on baby Jesus. It's easy to separate and put it off on somebody else who we elevate to a pedestal. It's easy to put it on them. But the thing about this teaching is they're not the exception to the rule. And I'm going to say something that is very controversial within science of mind, religious science. And I want you to know that what I'm saying is Reverend Dr. Raymont Anderson saying it. I am not saying it as a spokesperson for CSL, etc. This is me.
But I'll let you.
Thank you. Appreciate that, Carol. Thank you. In the science of mind, Holmes refers to Jesus as being the only man who ever reached that level of awakenedness. And I don't believe that that's true. I don't believe that that's accurate. And for real, because of where Holmes was going in his own spiritual path as he approached his transition, he was reading more about Aurobindo. He was reading more about what it means to practice Vedanta and the idea of non-dualism. So, and having been to the archives in Colorado, there are a lot of, you know what a shirt board is? Anybody remember like when you used to get dress shirts and it would have the cardboard thing on it? There are stacks upon stacks upon stacks of those and scraps of paper and napkins and things that he jotted notes down that have never been published yet. Later writings. So the interesting thing is, what will science of mind, religious science, yield if and when those are actually transcribed? So the idea to say that this man is the only one who ever does sort of put him on a pedestal, does it not? He's the only one who ever, before and since, then what hope do I ever have of being a master chef? Right? Like, I'm never going to attain that level of skill if he's the only one. So let's table that for a moment and recognize that he's not the only one who is the incarnated power and presence of love itself. He can't be. If God is all there is, then the exact same God that incarnated itself in, through, and as him is the exact same God incarnating itself right here and right now in, through, and as each and every one of us. So what does that look like on a daily basis? How do we start to recognize that my divinity was produced at my birth? That there is nothing that I need to read or learn or study, but simply because I was born, simply because I am here, simply because I am now love made flesh, it is enough. Because see, we still work to try to become worthy. We try to earn it. We try to deserve it. And we even have the mythology within the things we tell our children. You know, Santa is watching to find out. Spooky enough, Santa knows when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake. He knows if you've been bad or good. So be good for goodness sake, lest you find lest you find a lump of coal in your stocking, because Santa will punish you if you're bad. Right, so we even make kids afraid of Santa Claus. Ho, 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 bowl full of jelly, like, ha, ha. Why are we making kids terrified of Santa Claus? Because there's some part of us that feels the need to terrorize ourselves and make ourselves worthy. To scare us into being good enough. Naughty or nice. Well, but what if, no, because if you're naughty, if you're not nice, then there's a punishment.
Sometimes it's nice to be naughty.
I'm not,
I can't believe I said that out loud, but I did.
inside voice, Robin, inside voice. So Science of Mind teaches. Science of Mind teaches. To think of Jesus as being different from other men is to misunderstand his mission and purpose in life. He was the way shower and provided his way to be a correct one. His method was direct, dynamic, and powerful, yet extremely easy and simple to comprehend, but not to practice. He believed in God, in himself as power and reality, believing the God within. He was compelled to believe in himself. Do we believe in ourselves? Sometimes. What might our lives look like if we believed in ourselves more consistently? Meaning, once again, when was the last time you woke up, say on a Monday morning, and needed Lisa to remind you that your name was Lisa? Like you're like, hon, what's my name? What? What's my name? What? Leave me alone, right? Like, we remember who we are. We remember our names. For the most part, we remember our birthdays. So I forgot mine 1 year. But we don't remember our divinity. It's more work to remember how good we already are. Not how good we need to become. How good we already are. Takes work. Takes practice. But our name, we get. Our social security number, we get. PIN number to the ATM, we get. On most days, we get. Like, we got that. But when it comes to our own innate power and presence, we need a class to remind us. To such a degree that we take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 4,629 classes over and over again, expecting sooner or later I will take the right Thomas Hubel class. I will take the right Wayne Dyer class. I will take the right Louise Hay affirmation. At some point, I will hit the right one and never have to do this again because voila, it's done. But you don't stop brushing your teeth. You don't stop washing it prayerfully. You don't stop washing your face, brushing your hair while you have it. Like, we don't stop any of that. It's still a consistent practice. Every musician and vocalist knows that there's still a practice. Licensed practitioners have the word practice in the name of what they are. And yet somehow we still think that this thing, we get to it and we're done. Then the V should be inverted. Because it means that which God is, at some point, gets to the point where God is like, you know, ooh, one blade of grass was a challenge. But when I got to blade 4,006,700,000,000, whew, I need a break. Y'all go do something. It means at some point God, Spirit, that which it is, says enough is enough, and it stops being creation itself. Another thing in the science of mind says, we must understand that the Christ is not a person, but a state of being. It was impossible for Jesus not to have become the Christ, as the human gave way to the divine, as man, as humans give way to God, as the flesh gave way to spirit, as each of us surrenders the idea that this is all we are. Then it leaves room for the truth of our being. As we surrender the need to put arms up to defend, the more we realize we are open and available to being hugged and being loved and being supported. But for as long as we're here, as long as we're in defense mode, it's a little challenging. But the moment we surrender this and let go, we become available to the truth of our being. And the truth of our being is, that story is about us. It's your story. Every element of this is about you. And I understand, and I'm speaking metaphysically. Every element of this is you. Looking at the nativity story as an indicator of our divine birth, the light of our being, and the recognition of this as seen by the three wise men. Right? The greatest gift we could ever give the world is the gift of our empowered, transcendentally awakened selves. It is when we recognize this light and power and are willing to travel to where it resides in order to actualize it, we then see the magnificence of who and what we are as the Christos, the Anointed One. But where is there that we need to go? Nowhere. It's a metaphorical, poetic state. You go in. You go within. We believe heaven is within us. And that we experience it to the degree that we become conscious of it. But to do so, we must flee, like Mary and Joseph, flee from the threat of death as decreed by Herod. Death to the truth of our being that the material world and mass consciousness would have us believe. See, we have to die to the idea that all we are is flesh and blood. We have to let it go. Move away from it. So see, flee meaning turn away. Remember, I think it was last week when I said in Psalms it says, I will lift my eyes to whence my help comes. I will raise my gaze. I will not look at this condition, circumstance any longer, but I will elevate my consciousness. I will raise my eyes. I will raise my sense of awareness, recognizing that when I am in this higher vibration, this higher state of being, then shift happens. I had to make sure I slow down on that. I had to make sure, because we know sometimes. We must escape that consciousness in order to be free.
What is it?
So we're surrounded by this consciousness of. And we don't take care of ourselves much. Because it's easier to take care of others. Right? Like it's easier to do for others. We're taught. If there's the last piece of whatever, give it to somebody else and let them have it. That's the polite thing to do. But what if you want it? You saw it first. I saw it first. It's the last ginger snap cookie that Lisa baked. I saw it first. No one else is reaching on the plate for it. I should be able to have it. Right?
Sure.
But Lisa says, Jovan might want it. And I say, well, he should have done it.
Whatever you say.
And then Dr. Ronnie says, Reverend Ray, you know your supply does not come from that cookie. Okay. And then I surrender it and I give it up. However, there's a time and a place for this. There's a time and a place for giving and giving and giving. But if we're not giving to ourselves first, if you're not tithing to yourself first with love and power and presence and joy and magnificence, then your cup is getting really, 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 really skimpy on what you're able to give someone else to drink. But if we're giving to ourselves first, then we're giving from the overflow. The Upanishads say, you are what your deep driving desire is. Pause. Because how many of us really, really on a daily basis think about what we desire? We have things called impulse shopping. Well, the impulse, we may think, I want this, but no, you don't. You're buying it on impulse because there's something else you desire. I'm buying this new spiffy pocket square on impulse. I don't need it. However, I'm buying it because somewhere there's a desire to match. Because when I match, I feel... Stop laughing! I'm trying to make a metaphysical point here. Y'all just mess me up. Because somewhere I believe that if I match, it shows harmony, it shows coordination, it shows professionalism, and professional... Keep on, Ray, keep on. What else? What else? And I desire to appear to be professional. Why? Like, what is it about being professional? Because I believe that if you look professional, people look at you and treat you in a different way. Speak more about that. What is it that you're looking for? That's the deep desire. When we go to the deepest thing, because ultimately what it all boils down to is we want to be loved and accepted. Like that's the bottom, the deepest desire. I want to be loved and accepted. But do we love and accept ourselves? So, you are what your deep driving desire is. As your desire is, so is your will. As your will, so is your deed. As your deed, so is your destiny. So very clearly, whatever it is that is our deep driving desire is what's creating and manifesting this experience. Suppose my deep driving desire is to avoid pain at all costs. Well, in order to avoid pain, don't I have to marinate on pain, think about pain? I have to have pain somewhere in my periphery to be able to know what it is to avoid it. Which means I have to spend some energetic amount of my consciousness on the very thing I say I want to avoid. How many of you have ever driven down the road and in order to make sure you didn't hit a deer, one, you slowed down. Speed limit's 50, you went to 15. The road is in front of you and you were in the trees. High beams on. Tracy's like, yeah, because I know Tracy's done it. It's like, hey, Doc, look over on that side for the deer. I got this side.
They're everywhere.
You know how long it takes to get through a block if you're going 15 miles? But if you're so focused on the thing you don't want, what if the energy of that is, oh, some deer, some Bambi somewhere like, nom, nom. Hey, Mom, somebody's thinking about us. Let's go see. Like, for real, what if the energy of our consciousness seeking to avoid, on some level, is calling it towards us?
I just hit the deer.
And moving on. And moving on. No, but seriously. So on any given day, how much time do we devote to thinking about what we desire? You know, this time of Christmas, we think about gifts and we think about what we want. But do we really think about why we want it? Why do we want that sweater? Why do you want those shoes? I understand they're sexy and they're cute. I understand that, you know, chocolate tastes great, except for those who, you know, sugar is the devil. Other than that, it's an inside joke. What is it about this thing that you want? And even when you're giving someone, why are you giving that? There's a desire in you to give. What is that? See, we don't think about that. We think Christmas gifts, buy, box, wrap, package, bow, smiles. But what would change in us, in our culture, in our civilization, if we took a little bit more time to think about what's the driving power and presence in, through, and as us that is now acting via our will and our deeds and creating our destiny? I mean, the whole idea of Christmas, I mean, it's in the name. The entire idea of Christmas is Christ. How many of us on any given day,
It's almost over.
not just Christmas, because it's easy to do on Christmas, it's in the name, it's in the title, like, it's Christmas. It's talking every single day, because the idea of Christmas should be an everyday thing, should it not? The idea of Valentine's Day and love and expressing your love for someone should be an everyday thing, should it not? Like, you shouldn't wait for Valentine's Day just to say, here, boo, I love you, here's some flowers and some non-sugar filled candy. It's like, here. Like, we shouldn't need to wait for Valentine's Day for that. But we do. We wait, and we wait, and we wait. We wait for specific days to honor people. Why not honor everybody every day you get a chance to honor them, just by listening, just by seeing them, just by being present with them, rather than waiting for, well, I'll wait, when's your birthday? I'll wait till your birthday to give you a card to let you know. Really? Your birthday's really on Christmas Day. What? Okay, sorry. Wow. So, but why wait till Christmas Day, birthday, simply to say, I honor you? Why can't we just get a card that says, it's October 1st?
Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday. Right? Just because I appreciate you and I behold the Christ you are. Not just within you. I don't want to see just the Christ within you. Because that implies that there's something within that some days may not be there. Like possession. I know I'm stretching. Like possession, if you are possessed by a demon, you have to exercise it to get it out. So that means somewhere in there we may have this idea that this thing called the Christ that is within us can also not be within us. And that's not an option. Because it's all there is. That power, that presence, that light, that joy, that magnificence is all there is. Call it by whatever name you want to call it. It's all there is. It's everything that you are. Every cell comes from that. The deep desire of the spirit, of the thing itself, of the one mind, whatever we're calling it, that desire to be, to love, to expand, has shown up in the will of creation, shown up in the deed of creation, to manifest the destiny of creation. What would happen if every day, just like we remember our names, we remembered this? We remembered who we are, for real, and acted like it. What would change in our lives? What might change in our lives? Just marinate on the possibility of what would shift if. See, because it's real quick, we can entertain the idea of, if I say, Martina, if you won $5 million, Tuesday, $5 million, what in your life would change? It's easy for us to do that, right? Like, a lot of y'all are like, oh, so I would do this first, and I would pay off all of that. Like, we already start to marinate on, if I had this unlimited source of finance, this is how my life would change. But you have an unlimited source of beingness, an unlimited source of givingness. You are already tuned in, tapped in, demonstrated as source itself. But we tend to close ourselves off to this. We leave ourselves open to money, we leave ourselves open to a whole bunch of other things, but we close ourselves off to this. Because in some way, this is too much. This is too great. It's too much responsibility. It's too much power. I mean, if I acknowledge, if I say I'm God, then Dr. Ronnie's going to expect me to be more godly. Well, what does that even mean? That's based upon some idea. Right now, if you're God right now, then everything you do right now, you're already doing in a godly manner. That means if you are someone who curses, then you're God cursing. That means if you do eat sugar and it messes with your synapses and dendrites and you're like, woo! Then it means God is like, that's what it is. When I feel depressed, then it means in this moment that which God is in this moment expressing as me feels depressed. There is no way to not be godly. It's not possible. So what would happen if we shifted it a little bit more? What if we gave ourselves a gift? What if we gifted ourselves just a little bit more each day? Gave ourselves a little bit more love. Gave ourselves a little bit more joy, bliss, passion, purpose. Anything, wonder and magic. Play. How many of us give ourselves the freedom to play? Because there's a whole bunch of us, grown folks, who would never put this on and walk around the street. We would not go to the restaurant where we're going, or we would not go to the gas station. We would not do, lest someone look at us to be the fool that we appear to be. And we do not want to be judged. Oh, look, there's a Christmas jester. Jester, juggle me some balls here. Juggle. You look the fool, play the part. Like we expect this. So we run from it. We put on masks and we put on airs which deny us this gift of. But what if we gave ourselves the exact same gift the Grinch gave, and we let our hearts grow 3 sizes, 4 sizes, 10 sizes larger than what they presently are? What if we enveloped so much love of ourselves that it couldn't help? If I love myself so much in this moment right now, and I mean love myself, beyond all guilt or shame, judgment or criticism to such a degree that Sonya had no choice but to feel it. And then she's overcome by it and doesn't even know what it is, but then something vibrationally shifts within her. Because isn't that what happened with the Grinch? The Grinch stole Christmas, had a big old bag of everything, stole everything from every who in Whoville, everything. And up at the top of the mountain, still heard them singing. But there's no trinkets and trunkets. There's no, I'm not even going to. Chavis was like, is he going to do it? But there was nothing else that he thought Christmas meant. But they had themselves. And they knew that as long as we are present and have this, then we always have Christmas. And because of the power of that, it shattered his paradigms. It broke his consciousness. It elevated him to a new way of being, to such a degree that when the sled was getting ready to go and he was like, no, he saved Christmas and brought it back to them in a celebratory manner, in the same way Ebenezer Scrooge brought Christmas. These stories are metaphysical reminders that we have this ability to be greater than we ever could imagine. To change not only ourselves, but to change and transform the world. So the first place that it should be a Merry Christmas is right here. Before we say it. Be a Merry Christmas. Be a Happy Hanukkah. Be the divine and blessed winter solstice. Be it in demonstration. Because the more we are being this, the more it's going to be a world that works for the highest and best of all. Let's pray. Anchoring right now in this breath to this truth, knowing that that which God is all there is. Called by many names, the power, the presence, the one life. Life itself, living itself in, through, and as me. Right here in this breath. And what I know to be true for God and myself as one eternally, infinite, intimate, and bound creation I know to be true for everyone in this room. God is all there is, living and breathing itself as each and every member of this beloved community. Whether in person in this center or via Facebook Live or YouTube later, regardless of where this beloved community stretches and reaches, it's all God and it's all good. Knowing that, then I know that this that is the Christ is present, is palpable right here in these thoughts, in these words, in these hands, in this body, for myself and for everyone here. Love itself, living itself, loving itself, gifting itself forever and ever and ever, and in this moment now. So it is in gratitude that I know that the power and presence of all that is, the very universe itself, is conspiring for its own good always, always has, is right now, and forever will, knowing that this which already exists in the mind of God is already fully formed, already fully functioning, already is so. So with confidence I surrender it and allow it into the law of mind in action, knowing that as it is in the mind of God, it is in my mind. It is in the mind of this community. And knowing that there is only that one mind, and that one mind is conspiring for its own good, then with confidence I surrender it because I know it is so. And together as a community we declare this by saying, and so it is. Amen.